side because it's just a better area for me to stretch. I'm going to show you after working in the yard and the garden for the last week, I'm extremely sore. So I was a personal trainer for 18 years, and so I know all the great stretches to do to keep you from hurting, whether you work at a desk, a computer, or just hunched over. These are great ways to they're great ways to make sure that you are not in pain all the time. And so the main areas that it gets sore, and it's going to be hard for me to see what's going on. I'll do my best. All right, just scoot back a little. I think for most of the stuff, you'll be able to see me just fine. So anyway, so these are my go-to stretches. The areas of the body that get the most sore are your trap area and your low back, like through here and through your neck. And when most people stretch or when they do exercises, they don't they stretch the area where the pain is, not realizing that it's typically an opposing muscle that is causing the pain. So if I'm having pain throughout my low back in this direction, it's usually coming from these muscles in the front being too tight. And your low back, a lot of times, all of your sore muscles in your low back actually come from your stomach muscles being too hunched over like this, and then your neck kind of corrects, and that's what causes that pain. So we're going to open up and loosen up the stomach area, and I'll show you how to do that. So hopefully you can see me. It's going to be a lot harder for me to see chat today. I try to have the stream going up on my computer so I can see you. Oh, I actually think I can now. Hold on just a sec. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not showing up over there, so I'm just do the best I can today. I'll lower this down a little bit. So the first stretch that I always start with is called pigeon pose. And what it's going to do is all these muscles through your hip tighten up to your back. So when you get down onto the ground, you're going to put your leg and what that is doing is it's actually stretching everything through here and through your psoas and through your piriformis muscle and your glutes. So once I get into this position, I want to try to make sure that everything is ergonomically in line. So I want to make sure that my back hip, my back foot is straight. You don't want to have it twisted as you can, because while you're doing that, it's stretching all of your latissimus dorsi. So all these muscles that come to the side, it's stretching those out along with the muscles in your stomach. So stretching a lot of things all at once. So I'm going to get in this position, and I'm really focusing on putting my arm straight and stretching these muscles. So I'm going to get all the way down. I'm going to kind of lean to the side and turn my head. And when you turn your head to the side like that, it's actually going to stretch these muscles through your neck, which get really sore from sitting at a computer. And then as soon as I get to where I can be in this position without having a lot of pain, I'm actually going to bring my other arm up to match it. And if you guys are in a place where you can mimic these stretches, go ahead and join me. And I'll sit here. You want to hold all of your poses anywhere from 60 seconds to a minute and a half or even longer. And while you're stretching, you want to make sure you're taking in big breaths. So then I'll come back up and I'll push myself in this position. And I'm actually going to try to push back and get a better stretch through this part of my stomach. Most stretching should be painful, but you do have to work into being able to get into it. So now that I can feel that I'm tight as I'm sitting here, I can feel I'm tight through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of twist the body without wrenching anything. I'm actually going to take this arm and I'm going to reach across this direction. As I'm doing so, I'm setting my hand on the ground straight up like this and letting the weight of gravity as I sink stretch it. And we want to do the same for the other side as well. Get my hands down and bend my knee. Everything's going to be in alignment. So this muscle, trying to keep everything in line with my hip and my body. And I'm just going to kind of sink into it. And my back leg, you can't see that back leg. So this back leg is going to stretch down. I'm keeping my foot flat. I'm trying to get a really good stretch through there. And I'm waiting for the gravity. So this side is a lot tighter than the other one is, so I'm kind of moving and twisting, kind of give it a good stretch. And then I'm going to gradually start with putting one elbow down again. Turn this way. So once I'm in that position, once again, I'm making sure that my belly button is in line forward. I'm kind of arching my back and to stretch out these stomach muscles. Big deep breaths. I'm not hunching over. Can you see? I've got my shoulders back nice and tight. My head up tall. Big breath. I'm going to take this hand. Once again, I'm going to just try to keep everything square. I'm going to let this elbow go down. And get a deeper stretch. I'm going to take my other arm to match it. Then I'm going to gradually slide this arm forward, your stretch. And you'll feel the tightness right in your glute area, your piriformis area, when you're doing this stretch. And right now, because I've used my arms so much in the last couple weeks, I'm feeling a lot through my lat area over here. This is a psoas reset exercise. Your psoas is a muscle that attaches from your hip into your lower back. And a lot of people get really tight there, and that's what causes a lot of back pain. It took me a lot of years to figure out. That's what used to cause my back pain. But ever since I've been doing these stretches, I don't have that achy pain where you can hardly bend over, or if you sneeze and your back hurts, that type of pain, which is really annoying. So once again, I'm reaching across my body and I'm stretching out that lat muscle. And you can see how I'm turning my head as I'm doing that. It's stretching these muscles, and it's actually stretching this muscle in the front of your neck at the same time. Which that muscle in the front of your neck is actually what causes a lot of neck issues and shoulder issues. So now that I've got that stretched out nice and good, this is probably one of my next favorite stretches. All the stretches I do they're simple stretches. So they're designed to get a lot done with as little exercises as possible. Yeah, this stretch is an amazing stretch. You should do it. That stretch is really, really good. My next favorite stretch, I don't have a name for it. I kind of came up with it when I was a personal trainer because I was having a lot of shoulder issues through here where my shoulders would just ache, like right in the deep center here. And this stretch, you start out, hopefully I can see. You start out stretching kind of, hold on one sec. So you're going to be stretching your quad to start. When you do this, you want to make sure that your ankles are flat and your feet are flat, touching the ground. Okay, and then you're going to get this part of your body square and in line with your body. You're going to take this hand and you're gradually, you can't do it all at once. You're just going to gradually stretch all the way as far as you can go and try to get this gap between your shoulder all the way flat while keeping your knee down and your ankle down. So if you can't do that, then you just need to stand, come back up a little bit, and gradually work into it. But once you get your shoulder all the way flat, it's stretching many areas. So it's stretching right through here, and it's stretching my shoulder area. So now I'm going to reach this hand up to reach, and that's going to stretch your QL, which is that big muscle along your back that attaches down to the side of your hips. And that muscle, hands down, is the #1 cause of back pain. So this stretch is really great for that. Kind of arch my head up and get a bit better stretch to my stomach. So right now I'm feeling that most right through this area, which is your iliopsoas, which comes around and attaches into the front. So once I get that down, I'm going to still stay in the same position and put my hand all the way back down straight. I'm going to put my other hand up, and then I'm going to gradually turn and rotate over. But in doing so, I'm making sure that my knee is staying on the ground. My back leg is as close to my glutes as possible. See, I'll turn in different directions so you can see my leg position. So this is going to come and touch as close as it can to the back. I'm going to stretch out this way. My other hand's going to reach, and as I'm reaching over, it's stretching out all of the muscles in my front. And so your goal is to keep this knee all the way down, your glutes touching the ground, and your ankle and your knee touching the ground. So you reach both of your hands up, and you're going to get to where both your shoulder blades are touching the ground. Take big deep breaths through your chest and out through your stomach. A lot of people breathe through their stomach. They were taught to keep your tummy tight and try not to breathe. But you want to try to expand your rib cage as much as possible, and that will enhance your breathing. And just letting gravity pull it down. You turn your head to one side, and then the other side to get that next stretch. Big deep breaths. My right hand doesn't want to go down all the way yet. So I'm going to sit here. That's how you stretch out your biceps and your forearms. And your biceps being tight will actually cause you to have shoulder problems because they attach into the shoulder where the rotator cuffs are. So you want to stretch them out nice and good. Also stretching out the pectoralis major up through here. Really good. And those also attach in through the shoulder. So both those muscles being tight will cause a lot of shoulder and neck issues. So now that we've got that side done, we'll do the same thing to the other side. So we're going to start out. My knee is touching my butt, and not everybody can do that from the very beginning, so you just got to work into it. And I think it took me, when I very first started doing this, it took me, I think, a month of religiously doing it every single day to be able to get into that position. So, same thing. Here you tell this side is tighter, and this leg is a lot tighter. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to get down. So I'm just stretching, and right now I'm feeling it more in my quad. Usually I feel it more in my shoulder. But I want them both to work in tandem. So anybody who sits at a computer all day or does technical stuff with your arms or hands, or even if you're a truck driver, whatever your profession is, these basic stretches every day will save your bacon. Like right now I'm feeling that. So before I was feeling it in my quad, and my knees want to lift up. So I'll actually take this other foot and I'm going to stick it on top of my knee so that it can't come up. And so I'm still feeling it a big tightness through here. So I'm going to kind of press on it and see if I can't get it to loosen up. This muscle right here is your QL, and it is associated with more back issues than any other muscle. So now they've got that down. So I'm still feeling some tightness. So I'm going to readjust my leg. Check out. So now I'm going to reach both my hands up. Now I've got the leg going down. Still want to go out from me. And once again, I've got everything in alignment. So I'm not really twisting anything. My arm is straight sideways. And this arm is really tight. It's not wanting to stretch up there. But that's all, everything from your tricep all the way down through your back is all connected down into your quad. And that's why this stretch is so amazing. So I'm gradually going to start rotating over now. And anywhere I feel stuck or tightness, so right now I'm feeling tightness in my quad area versus anywhere else. But I'm taking this hand and I'm reaching as far up as it can possibly go. And the goal is to be able to get all the way rotated over with your glutes touching the ground. Both ankles are on the ground and square, and both knees are staying on the ground. So I'm gradually rotating. Big deep breath. It was freezing cold when I came out here, so I put on a big old black shirt, and now the sun's finally warming up. And I'm stretching outside because I love to be outside and I love nature, so not most ideal, but it works. Stretching in the sun adds a little bit of heat to your body and warms up your muscles, which gives you a better stretch as well. So now that my hands are finally just about, one of my shoulder blades is still not quite touching the ground. This one's all the way touching, but the one on the other side still hasn't loosened up. So I'm going to stay here for a couple more minutes. Big breaths through my chest. Now I'm going to do the same thing before. Got a golfer's grip, so my fingers and knuckles are all locked. My head is square and in line with my spine. I just let my hands fall down to the ground. You can definitely tell which side is tighter. You can tell I'm right-handed. They're just about touching. Okay, so both of those touch. So now I'm going to come up just nice and slow and kind of rock my hips side to side to kind of see where I'm feeling tightness. Still feeling tightness in my low back over on this side. So then I'm going to take this hip, I'm going to stretch over. And these are some yoga stretches, but they're not necessarily yoga stretches. I just do what works for me. So our next stretch we'll do, so that's already started to open up everything through my shoulder, and I can still feel tightness through this area. So I'm going to want to stretch out more through this area through here. And one way you can do that, you're going to sit, you take this hand and you turn. My body's in alignment, my spine is square. You turn my head to the side, and I'm going to just, and when I say turn, it's literally just trying to turn it sideways. Take your arm, turn my hand upward, and I'm just going to tuck this head down. So as I'm feeling this, I'm feeling the stretch through here. And this muscle through here is also associated with tons of shoulder issues and issues right here in the back of your neck. So you want to stretch that out. So my hand's going to be up, and I'm just going to let gravity pull it down. And big deep breaths. So when I'm doing this, you'll notice that my shoulders aren't forward while I'm doing it. You're nice and tall. Your head is turned sideways. Your hand is out. And you're trying to keep this shoulder in good position. If at any time any of these stretches cause you pain, don't do them. Because at the goal of stretching, you shouldn't feel pain in any joints when you're stretching. If you do, you need to back off and take it slower. See how now it's just loosening up and just falling to the side? And I'm just letting gravity do that. And now that's stretching everything all through here. And then we'll do the same with the other side. Head's in alignment. Shoulders are back. Turn my head sideways. Lift my hand. Got my fingers locked like a golfer's grip. And I'm just going to let gravity pull that down. Here is trying to pull up, to try to pull it back in balance. And this muscle is bigger and stronger, so it's always going to win. So we want to make sure we're always stretching out this muscle right through here. And to do that, you can do child's pose. You put both your hands forward, and you're just going to put my hands, my elbows are not weak. My hands are straight and they're locked. So I'm going to lock my hands straight. And I've got golfer grip hands, so my hands are down. So you lock your golfer's grip hands. And when I'm doing this, I'm just going to lean back into my hips. And just let my head and everything naturally sink. You don't want to force anything. But notice if you can see how everything is in straight alignment. A lot of people will do this and just relax, but you want to have your hands, you want to be productive when you stretch. And this will stretch out your forearms. It'll stretch your lats. It'll stretch your hip flexors, which attach into the back of your hips as well. So your psoas and your hip flexors. So your psoas muscle is your big, long, ropey muscle that goes along your spine. So you have your obliques, which, and your abdominals, which are your six-pack muscles. And your psoas muscle is the long muscle, ropey muscle behind those that goes right along your spine. So when that muscle is tight, it pulls everything down. Your psoas muscle is also the first muscle that moves when you activate running or lifting your leg. It's the first muscle that works, and it gets overworked and people don't stretch it. So this is also stretching that secondarily. Primarily right now it's stretching the hip flexors. And as I'm getting further and further down, I'm allowing my body, shifting my hands just a little bit to be able to adjust. Now I can feel my body just starting to sink down. So as I'm doing this, I'm letting my chest sink down to the ground. Before I was up here and here, but as I've gotten more loosened up, I'm just letting gravity naturally stretch it down. Big breath to the chest. And even when I'm in this pose, I've got everything in line with my hips. So my knees are in line with my hips. So I actually need to spread them out just a little bit. They're in line with my hips. I'm just going to sink into it. All right, so we stretched that one nice and good. Next one we're going to do is we're going to take this hand, we're going to do this similar thing to child's pose, but we're going to kind of stretch it on an angle. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a greater stretch through here and through your QL. So you take your hand and you do golfer's grip again. You put your hand up high. You take this hand and you're going to interlock fingers, put that hand down there, and you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to let gravity. If you feel like it's on too much of an angle, then put a little bit more straight, like that was too much of an angle for me. Put a little bit more straight, and you're just going to do the same thing where you're stretching down into it. And you want to let your head fall to the side, kind of fall straight down onto your arm. And as I get more of a stretch, then I'm going to try to rock my hips to the side. And that's going to give greater stretch to that QL muscle and that latissimus dorsi and your anterior delt. And it's also stretching my oblique muscles too. So the front of my stomach, through my side through here, it's giving them a good stretch. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. Hand is like this. Golfer's grip. This hand's gonna come here. And we're going to sink into it. Put your head down. As I get a greater stretch, I'm gonna rotate my hips opposite of the shoulder I'm stretching and kind of sink. When I say sink, I'm sinking backwards. A lot of people make the mistake of when they have back pain that they, hi Colt, how are you today? A lot of people, when they have back pain through here, their first tendency is to stretch your hamstring muscles and do this type of a stretch. You don't, when you have lower back pain, what that is your quad muscle and your stomach muscle are too tight. So what happens is it pulls you, I don't know if you can see. So let's do it from sitting. So you have this muscle here. What happens is when your quad is too tight, everything pinches up and squishes. And so then your back tries to compensate. That'll explain it better. Anyway, so this is it. So people's quads here get tight. So those are tight, and this muscle's tight. And so your back right here is trying to pull everything because your back wants to be here. And so everything here is tight, trying to pull everything here back to this position. So if you stretch the muscles that are causing the pain, which is your quad muscle, your psoas muscle, your lat muscle, and your chest muscles, this is ideally the position that your body wants to be in. Weight on your heels, spine, shoulder, butt, glutes. Stick straight down to the ground, matches your heels of your feet. This is where your body wants to be. So when you feel the pain, you got to analyze where it's at and stretch opposite of what you would think, and it'll save you tons and tons and tons of heartache. Anyway, so let's do another good stretch. So this stretch, you're going to take this foot. It's going to go right into the crease of your knee. This foot is going to go in the crease of your other knee. And I'm kind of rocking because I can feel tightness in both my hips. So I'm kind of rocking back and forth to try to feel where the tightness is. Once I get stable, I'm going to take my elbows. I'm actually going to stick them on my knees and try to use that gravity to push my knees down. So this will loosen up your hips, which will in turn loosen up your low back. And all these muscles, like your psoas and your iliopsoas, come around and attach into the back. So that's why we want to stretch those. So now that I've got a good stretch and my knees can stay flat now, what I'm going to do next is take this hand, I'm going to reach it crossed underneath, and I'm going to rest it on my knee there. This hand is going to come straight up. And when you do this stretch, you're going to want to look straight up to the sky at your hand. You take big deep breaths, and you're going to try to reach over. So as I'm doing this, it's stretching two different parts. So when I'm stretching here, it's stretching all through this whole side, through my QL and through my iliopsoas. It's stretching secondarily my tricep muscle and my anterior delt. Look up to the sky. And if you're a girl that is bigger chested, you want to make sure that you come underneath your breast. So you want to trap it. You want to get a good stretch through there. So you want to make sure you do that. So while I'm doing this, it's actually stretching all the way through my forearm here and the back of my forearm. Wasn't looking up at my hand. And then you can turn your head for a greater stretch. So I'm reaching as far as I can, but I'm not forcing anything. The last thing you want to do is when you're stretching is to overdo it and to force anything. The more you stretch, the more often you stretch, the greater benefits you're going to have from it. Yes, under the boobs. I did want to say the boob word. Yes, under the boob. So you're going to do the same thing. Arm is going to trap under the boob. I'm going to get my hand. My arm is not flimsy. It's once I get it there, I've got it locked tight. Okay. I've got both my knees touching the ground. Got my hand here. And this stretch is like literally one of my go-to stretches for my QL. So as a personal trainer, I went through a period of, I think, 2 years where I couldn't even bend over to spot somebody because my low back would hurt so bad. And I'd gone to physical therapy, I'd been to massage therapy, chiropractor, and I finally went to a massage place. It's called Structura Massage Therapy here in Utah. And they created their own type of massage school where it's like rolfing, so it's super, super deep tissue. It's a series of 10 weeks of an hour and a half a week of deep tissue massage. But each week they do a different area of the body. And as soon as the guy was able to figure out that the QL muscle, the muscle that goes right along the side of your ribs, which was what was so tight, and that was what was causing all of my back pain. And after it released, so that was probably like 8 years ago, as long as I keep up on my stretches, I have zero issues with it. And it's learning what things are causing you issues. So when I first started editing videos and stuff, my neck would hurt, my low back would hurt. And I'm like, okay, the only way I'm going to be able to survive being on a computer is if I make sure I'm diligent with all these stretches. And for the last week and a half, because I've been busy with everything, I've slacked. I'm starting to feel tightness, but it's making a world of difference already. I can already feel the difference. So this shoulder is still really tight. So while I'm in this position, I'm actually going to turn and stretch it down. The more you stretch, the more body aware you'll become. And being body aware is like really important. I know people who have no idea whether they have pain or if they're tight or if they're injured. That receptor in their brain just doesn't work. For me, I'm pretty body aware, so I know what things are being aggravated. Like right now, I can tell you I'm really tight right through this area. So I'm pushing on this node in my neck, and I'm just moving my arm back and forth, which is a form of massage. I can feel all the tendons in there are really tight. And I'm right in the crick of my neck where my lat comes down and my collarbone comes down. I'm digging my finger in there, and I'm just moving. And this muscle that I'm massaging is actually the muscle that comes from here and attaches all the way up into this part of your neck. And that's what's pulling on this little joint right there and causing it to be tight. Just by doing this, I can already feel the pressure. So right now I can get my thumb in there nice and deep. And as I lift, I can feel that muscle stretch. There's another spot. So I'm just moving it around, found another knot. So I'm trying to move my shoulder, because ideally you should move your shoulder all the way up and all the way straight without any pain or pinching. And so I'm feeling pinching right in this area. So that tells me my bicep is tight. So I'll show you how I stretch here and here, which is a big, people who sit at a computer like this, punch at a screen. These are the muscles that get tight. And what they do is they focus on going to massage therapist, and all they do is massage back here most of the time, right? They relieve in that immediate pain. But this muscle here in the neck, this one right here, getting tight by being on a computer, which calls all the way up and attaches underneath here, is what causes that neck pain. So if you can learn how to loosen that up, like you can even do it yourself, where you grab the side of your neck, you take your thumb and your fingers and pinch that muscle, and you're just going to kind of rotate side to side. And as I'm doing that and I'm stretching, I'm holding that muscle, or you can use 2 hands. You hold that muscle square, and as I'm holding it and I'm moving my neck up, it's actually allowing that muscle to stretch more. So you can see I'm grabbing right here. I'm trying to isolate that whole entire muscle, You got to do it when it's in the relaxed position. You get a hold of it, and then move your neck around. Like right there, my neck just popped by doing this. So if you get a headache that is right here in the back of your base of your skull, do this massage on yourself and your neck. So I've got this muscle. I'm pinching it with both my thumbs like that, and then I'm grabbing it, and I'm stretching into it. So just turning my neck like that with my thumbs like that is stretching that muscle. See, it just popped off of there. So I won't go quite as far. And that big long muscle, so it's attaching back. Right there's where it attaches. And so when you get that stress headache that kills, it's usually this muscle that's causing it. All right, so I'll show you my other stretch that I do for my shoulder. So with this one, we're going to lay completely on our side. I'm going to do it this direction first. It's easier. So what I'm going to do is you're going to lay on your side. And when you lay on your side, you want your feet to be interlaced like that. Either direction doesn't matter. But you want your knees in alignment. And you want this at 90 degrees, as much as you can get them. And then you're going to lay down. So I've got my legs 90 degrees. This arm's going to come down, so I'm going to lay straight. So my hips are in alignment, 90 degrees, 90 degrees here. So, and then when I come down, I want everything just to fall down to the side and touch in a straight line. So you don't want any twisting. You want to be square when you do this. You're going to take this hand under the boob. Your knees are square. This hand is going to come here and it's going to lock. You're actually going to rest your head down. And remember that golfer's grip I taught you? You're going to take your arm like this. The head's here. And I'm just going to follow my hand all the way. And when I'm doing this, I'm not letting my waist rotate out, okay? So my hand here, my body here, is keeping everything square. Everything's in square alignment. So you don't want to force it. Got my golfer's grip. I'm reaching as high as I can to the sky. And I'm turning my head with my hand. I'm just letting my hand stretch. So as I'm doing that right now, I'm feeling the stretch in my forearm, along where my thumb is, at that point in the stretch. Now I'm feeling it under my forearm. And notice how when I'm doing this, my arm's not down here, and my arm's not up here. I'm keeping it in line with my shoulder. Everything is completely square. My wrists, my elbow, and my shoulder are in alignment. And I just rotated my body, so I gotta readjust. You gotta catch yourself when you do that. You don't want your body twisting. And I used to be able to touch the ground all the way from this stretch position. So that's also, now it's starting to stretch through the pec muscle right through here, which is the other muscle right through here. That gets really tight, and that pulls on your shoulder, and in turn will start pulling on your neck. So everything is connected, but focusing more on the front muscles versus the back muscles of the body is the way to go, especially if you sit all day. Big breath. It felt like it was just really loud and windy, and now it's completely quiet. It's really weird. I'm used to the wind that's been going all day for days. But I think that wind we had yesterday finally brought in the warmness. I think it's going to finally get into the 80s next week, which means hopefully soon I'm going to be able to get all my plants in the ground. So this stretch is taking a lot longer because I'm really tight through that shoulder. You really want to concentrate on keeping that hand, your fingers locked. And I can feel myself when my hand starts to slip. I can feel myself, so I'll readjust to make sure it's in the right spot. And so as I'm turning my neck with it, it's actually stretching So the reason why you want to turn your head is because as you turn your head and your arm falls, it actually stretches out your trap muscle right through here. Because you could just leave your head the other way, but it also stretches more through the bicep and the shoulder area. And I keep turning my head back because I'm readjusting myself to make sure that I'm staying in alignment. And so as I'm doing this, as I'm letting my hand fall, I'm also reaching as far away from my body as I can with my arm, just kind of creating a little bit more of a stretch through your rotators. I can feel more of a stretch in my bicep as well. My hand slips, so I gotta reposition that, make sure it's straight. Now as I'm getting further down, now I'm starting to feel that in my anterior delt, more of a stretch back there, and I'm starting to feel it in the back of my shoulder blade, which is a really great stretch. Once it gets past a certain point, everything is just starting to go. Big breath. Reposition, make sure I'm staying in alignment. That took a lot longer. The other side will go a lot quicker, I'm pretty sure. It's not nearly so tight. So same type of thing. We're gonna do the opposite side. And people are like, what does stretching have to do with gardening and what does it have to do with all that stuff? It's all part of balance to life, keeping yourself balanced, because if you don't take care of yourself and do things to keep yourself healthy, even when you're outside working hard, you're going to fall apart and then you're not going to be able to continue to do the things that you enjoy. So it goes hand in hand. And when you're outside in the summer and being more active, stretching is what's going to keep you from being sore and from getting injured. If you're injured, you can't be outside doing the things you need to do. So my legs, 90 degrees, feet are interlocked, doesn't matter which direction, but one or the other. Knees are in position. I'm going to let my body fall all the way flat where everything is square. And go under the boob. And you put your hand here, same thing, golfer's grip. My hand's locked, and as I rotate, so my head's all the way down, I'm letting your tendency is to want to lift your hip up, but just let it sink, let everything fall and touch the ground. And what I mean is, like, I could arch it and to where I could fit probably 4 inches underneath there, but I want to let it sink all the way down to the ground. My arm is keeping my knees in place. And this also your arm should be the perfect length for holding everything square. And that's why your hand is there. So once again, golfer's grip. I'm reaching up as high as I can with my arm. And then I'm just relaxing the muscles through my chest and my neck. So through this area, it's where I'm starting to feel it first on this side. Typically, what you want to do is stretch out the least tight side, which I should have done first. Because in doing so, your body kind of mimics each other from side to side. So like say you had a broken leg and you couldn't use it, but you still rode the bicycle and still worked the other leg. It has energy transference to the other leg, and it actually pumps blood, and it creates that kind of that muscle memory. So your leg thinks it should be doing something, so it actually triggers the nerve response in there. I don't know if I explained that well. Now, as I'm getting to that point, now I'm starting to feel more on the top of my forearm and on the underside of my tricep muscle. So I'm turning my head, and as I'm turning my head, I'm feeling that in the back of my neck, right where my trap attaches to the base of my skull. So tighter on this side in different spots. I'm more tight in the neck on that side than I am in the arm. Okay, now I'm repositioning to make sure my body is square, my hips are down, and just letting that arm fall. You'd be amazed at how much this stretch right here stretches out your forearms, stretches out on your under forearms. It's stretching out my elbow. Now I'm feeling that into my armpit. So I'm feeling that down into here, whereas on the other side I didn't feel it there. So I must be tighter there. So a lot through here. Getting a good stretch of those pec muscles up through there. And just rotating my hand. So you want to make sure your arm is rotated like this. You can do it like this as well. It's a different type of a stretch, but I usually do that from a different angle. So I'll show you that one in a minute. So but on this particular stretch, your hand is just going to be up. Golfer's grip, shoulders in alignment, elbows in alignment, wrists in alignment, fingers are gripped. And the reason for gripping the fingers is because me doing so is keeping everything in line. Also, it's getting a greater stretch through the forearm. Now it's starting to let go. Now I'm feeling it. As it's going further down, I'm feeling that in the back of my shoulder blade. Make sure my head's turning with it. And I'm gonna make sure your head is trying to keep it in line with your spine and you're just turning your neck sideways. I can feel that right now at the base of my skull by my occipital put, which is right where your head sits on top of your spine. And as I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I'm rotating my thumb downwards. As I rotate my thumb downwards, I can feel that stretch more through my tricep and more through the thumb attachment that goes to the elbow. Okay, now that I'm here, I can tell I'm still tight in a couple areas. So I'm going to keep my hand here, but I'm just going to reach up to the sky. Golfer's grip still. But I don't want to feel any clicks or any pulling on my shoulder joints. Everything would do is nice and slow. So right there, I feel tightness. So I'm just going to kind of let my arm kind of relax and just kind of stretch outward and fall to the ground. And this is just a feel thing. There's nothing right. And once I start feeling that release, and where I'm feeling that right now stretch is right through this area. You feel that it's stuck right there. And so that's what it's stretching with my hand kind of relaxed, turned upward like that. So then I'm going to reach up to the sky. And as I'm doing that, I'm feeling it in this area of my bicep. So I'm going to go slow. Don't want to force anything because your shoulders are a very, 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 very small muscle. But releasing this area of your shoulder will relieve so much neck pain. Like when you're on that computer, your neck is hurting back in here. This is going to relieve so much of that pain. So you want to, once again, you want to focus more on stretching the muscles in the front of your body. We always stretch the back of our body because it hurts there. So we're like, oh, we'll stretch there. When in fact, if you do these stretches, it relieves everything else. Strengthen the back muscles, relax the front muscles. So if you're someone who's having neck pain, do not do bicep exercises. Do not do chest exercises, not incline bench, flat bench, push-ups. Trying to think if there's any other ones. So biceps, incline bench, decline bench, or chest press. Anything that works those front muscles, avoid. Instead, strengthen the tricep muscle, strengthen your anterior delt, your rhomboid 1, or your trapeze 1, trapeze 2. See, now I can feel a big, huge difference on that side already. I'm gonna reach up one more time, and now I can move that arm all the way without feeling any kind of pinch. So my last one here is I'm gonna go up, and I'm just gonna get in this position, and I'm just gonna, my hands aren't locked, but my hand is still in alignment, and I'm just letting this muscle just stretch downward. And what it's doing is stretching all this lat muscle clear into here. And the reason why your lat muscle being tight through here causes low back pain is because this long muscle actually comes down and it does attach to your spine in your lower back. So when this is tight, it pulls on those muscles. So when you sit at a computer all day and you lean to one side or you lean on one elbow or you switch back and forth, you're tightening one side or over the other. So this stretch here will save your bacon. Like now I'm feeling it more in the back of my shoulder blade, but now I can actually feel movement. I can actually feel my shoulder blade lifting up with my lat, whereas before it felt like it was stuck and it wasn't moving. And so I'm just moving my arm and my shoulder to see if I feel any more pinches anywhere. Like I feel tight right through here. So I'm going to put my hand right in that muscle right there. I'm not going to press super hard, but I'm going to kind of isolate that muscle. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm rotating down. Because as I'm moving my arm like this, it's actually allowing me to massage it without moving my hand. So the motion of my arm moving is allowing me to massage my neck. And I didn't realize it was this tight, but I guess I should have after cutting that tree yesterday. So now I'm able to move. Now let's take my hand away from there and let's see if I feel any pinching as I'm moving. So now I'm not feeling any pinching at all. So I can even turn my hand all the way down, rotate it. So you can even take your hand like this. Now you can rotate your thumb as much as you can downwards. Doing that right there, just turning your thumb down right there, makes the stretch come more into this part of your shoulder. So right, this meat of your shoulder right here, that's where it stretches by turning your thumb downward. Turning your thumb upward, the other direction stretches through here. So turning downward, feeling that stretch right through there and through here. If you feel yourself slipping, make sure you readjust your spine. Now we're going to do the other side. Let's see which. So I'm going to turn over this direction. So I'm going back to this way because I didn't stretch upward with my other hand. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to turn my hand upward. Same thing, feet are locked, 90-degree angle. Hands, knees are grabbed. And I'm just going to kind of relax my head and my neck. Palm is up. I'm just moving my arm around to kind of see where I'm feeling tightness. So right now I'm feeling tightness in this area, which tells me I need to rotate my thumb downwards for that greater stretch to the shoulder area. So I'm going to do that, turn my thumb down, and I'm feeling that in my forearm where my thumb attaches, and I'm feeling it in the front of my shoulder, and I'm feeling it in my tricep as everything else is starting to relax. Kind of moving around to see where I need to stretch it. So that's already starting to loosen up. So I'm still feeling a lot of tightness through here. So I'm going to take my hand up and I'm just going to let it relax back right there and feel a nice good stretch. Not forcing anything, letting gravity pull that shoulder down. And I'll kind of move it a little bit here down, squeezing my lat muscle. And then I'm going to reach back up and see, still feeling pull in there. So I'm going to continue to stretch, backing out. So as I'm doing this and straightening out, it's actually feeling a good stretch through my bicep. Everybody's going to feel the stretches in different areas, but this is how I know where I need to stretch, is where I feel my tightness. Like now I'm feeling tightness in here, which tells me I need to rotate my thumb down again and stretch my head down. Turn it down a little bit this way. and rock back and forth. And while you're doing this, you want to try to make sure you're not letting your shoulder be falling forward. You want to make sure your shoulder's all the way back, hands in alignment, thumb is up, and I'm just going to let, with my thumb to the sky, nothing is locked on this stretch, so don't have the golfer's grip, just relaxing, but still keeping my thumb up. Taking a big deep breath, and as I took a deep breath, I could feel the pinch right there in my clavicle, where that attachment is, right there. Big breath. So like I did with the other side, I'm going to put my finger in there where that's tight. I'm just going to remove that shoulder around while pressing in this area. I'm just going to massage it. So the last stretch I'm going to finish with today. So these are just basic stretches. They're not super duper fancy, but they're ones that work. Is this stretch here? Is you're going to work your way down. You're going to put this hand to your side here. You're going to put this hand, your hand to your side here. You're going to take this hand. So as you're reaching over sideways, your hand is falling to the side of your leg. So it's kind of like a balance. And that's going to stretch all through your QL over here. And you're going to look up to the sky at your hand. As I'm going down, my hand is touching my leg. And that allows you to not bend too much. I should have shown you this stretch at the first before I did all those other stretches, because it makes a huge difference. So once again, I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to lift up. This hand is touching my leg. I can feel the tightness in that shoulder still. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two hands. So my legs are going to be here. I'm going to take these two hands and I'm going to stretch them straight back like this. You see that? Okay. So I'm not just going like this or hunching. I want to show you more of my hand. So I'm interlocking my hands, and when I'm doing that, I'm making sure my shoulders are all the way back tight. Then I'm going to bring my hips apart. And as I go down, I'm actually going to lift my chin to the sky. And as by pulling my chin to the sky when I bend over, it's stretching this clavicle muscle right through there. So I'm going to grab again. I'm going to lift my chin up to the sky. And what that's doing is stretching that clavicle muscle. And I'll go down even further. And now once I'm in this position, I'm actually going to let my head once I'm in that position, let's show you more better. So once I'm in this position, so at first I have my head here, but once I get to a certain point and my shoulders, I'm really concentrating on pulling my shoulders away from my body and locking my elbows and my fingers. I'm just going to relax that head straight down to the ground. I'm going to bring my feet closer together so I have more of that stretch. And doing this, I'm just going to relax my head. And that's relaxing all the spine muscles at the same time as stretching the front of the pec area and the front of the shoulder muscle. As I come up, as I start to come up, you're going to arch your head back. You're going to tighten your legs up. You're going to come up. And I came up just a little bit fast there. Great googly moogly. I don't know what a googly moogly is. So then you're going to take your, so this is how I finish out my stretch. I'm all stretched. Everything's feeling loose. Feel just a little bit of tightness here. I'm just going to breathe with my head tall. Feel the breeze, waking up to your senses. I can feel the breeze on my face, feel the warmth of the sun. I can feel all my muscles just starting to relax. Still feeling tightness through this part of my shoulder, so I'm going to kind of turn to the side. And what's really weird, so pay attention to this. Sometimes when you're feeling tightness through here, sometimes this side of the body can actually be causing this to tighten up. So the other side is getting tight to try to pull this half of the body towards this half of the body. So I'm going to actually try stretching the opposite neck and see what happens with that shoulder. The body is weird. The things that we were taught and the things that work are so different. And I learned a lot of these things as a personal trainer. Obviously, I learned a lot of these things, but as I went to that massage class for Structura, I learned so many things. So right now, this stretch here, we'll stretch through that SEL or SEM. To the other side, see if I can feel it there. See that I'm not feeling it through this area on that side at all. So as you notice, and explained before, I don't do a lot of stretching the hamstrings. As you could tell, I could already touch the ground all the way with my hamstrings, but I focus more on my glutes. And then the last stretch that we shall do, let's bring this camera down a little. Maybe I should have done that a long time ago. If I weren't such a giant and so tall, I could fit in a camera frame, but I'm kind of a giant. It's just par for the course. Did I just turn something off? Of course I did. The good thing is that I've learned with this phone is that you can turn your phone off or put it in sleep mode and it still streams. That's a good thing and a bad thing, so just know that. So hands here. So I'm feeling tightness through here. So I'm going to take my hands here. I'm not going to force it, so I'm going to get my hands. And when you stretch your forearms, you want to take your hands and you want to spread them as far apart as you possibly can, like a spider web. So you want everything in perfect alignment with your hands spread out. So I'm going to take my hands the opposite direction and make sure everything's in alignment. My fingers are spread out as far as they can. And sometimes just sitting them flat like that is enough pressure. And it's amazing how much shoulder pain and elbow pain is associated with your hands, like your fingers, all the tendons through there being tight is a lot associated with shoulder pain as well, because everything is connected. And so people who work a lot with a mouse on a computer or people who type a lot on a computer, those muscles get tight and they don't realize it. So turn them back around the other direction. I'll just putting weight. See my elbow? Elbow's turned out all the way to that direction. You want your elbow turned all the way out and in line with your hands. And I'm just going to put pressure on those hands. And just kind of let gravity let it take over and settle in. If you can't rotate your arms, if you cannot rotate your arm to where your elbow can stick all the way out over your wrist and in line with your shoulder, you really need to work on stretching those muscles out, because you should be able to put your hand all the way flat, not like this, but you should be able to turn your elbows all the way out. And if you can't, if you're stuck here, usually it's because this muscle's too tight or your biceps too tight. So you got to stretch those muscles out, whether you use a massage gun or something else. Well, I hope that anybody who stepped in today was able to get an idea of what basic stretches. They're not a ton of stretches. They're not a ton of stretches that you need to do every day. But how many did we do? We did one, two, 3 or 4 stretches. If there's any other stretch that you do at all, it would be those ones. Big, swampy, wompy. Where am I from? I'm from Utah, where we grow girls really tall, apparently. Um, yes, I'm a Ute. I actually am a Ute fan. Actually, I like all Utah sports. So the University of Utah, Brigham Young University, University of Utah, but mostly University of Utah and Weber State. So those are the big 4 colleges that we have here. And anyway, back to what I was saying. Brigham Young, they are pretty young down there. They do marry young, and you can hang. Oh, we're gonna have a doggo sighting. Oh, he just stepped on the computer. We can't have a stream without the dog come to say hi. Come here, come here. You want to say hi? No? Okay, then leave me alone then. He always, why video so small? My doggo is huge. What are you talking about? He's breaking him like I'm young. Well, I think a lot of it, if you want me to get a little bit of the relationship part of it, because I never understood it before. But I think a lot of the reason why they teach you to get married right out of high school or right after they do their mission or whatever is because if you get married young and hopefully you stay together and you learn to build a life together and work together, and also you don't know any different. You don't know what you're missing out on. You don't know what it's like to be with anybody else. So in a way it seems dumb, but in a lot of ways it makes a lot of sense because the more experience you get. My YouTube has my video stream formatted oddly. Is my screen tiny again like last time? I wonder if it's last time. Colt, if you're there, ask me if it's streaming in the stream is small. That means the video. Did that make a difference or is it still the same? I know what you're talking about, that the screen is still in um landscape mode, but it's tiny. Is that what you're saying? So it's still the same. Let's go to my settings in this happened the other day and I thought I'd fixed it. Stream settings, video settings. Okay. Did that fix it or is that still the same? Did that fix it to full screen? I don't know why it does that. I guess I'm gonna have to do another whatever. This happened the other day when I was streaming, but it was because when I was on my video settings on my camera, it was set to record in HD plus or something like that, and it's not allowed for full screen. And my screen, Utah, so I'm streaming through Streamlabs, and so that's what I'm using. Maybe I need to find a different streaming platform besides this because I had that issue the other day and I thought I had fixed it. Camera settings. Because it would be video settings, platform settings, YouTube settings, hide viewer count, hide chat timeout. So video settings says output resolution 720p, 30 FPS, max video bit rate. Orientation lock is turned off. Only Twitch and Trovo supports midstream orientation change at this moment. Advanced settings. Nope. So when I go to, let's go to. So yeah, I don't know what the deal is. If it's still doing the same thing, I guess I don't know how to change it. Switch between scenes. Please note that each scene can only be used in the orientation you created it. When I go into my settings, Colt, does it, is my screen on the front turned off, or is it still stream? Or my screen stopped, my stream stopped. My stream stopped, but it's still going because it's still weird. Oh no, it's not stopped. It said asking me if I want to stop. Anyway, I guess I'll figure this out, guys. So I'm doing a lot of these silly streams right now. They seem silly to you, but they're not to me. It's learning the camera and the different technologies, and I figured that the best way for me to figure this out is to do it and fail at it, and then just keep trying a different method another day, another way. So I appreciate your feedback. And by the way, I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks to those that decided to come and watch me do a stretch stream. But honestly, if you do these stretches, and you do them on the daily and you gradually work into them, not only will you feel better, but your body will gradually start to lose weight. And I'm so confused because the camera says it's not moving. So I think it's locked. So I think I have to go to my computer.